Some people lose their lives suddenly. Others lose them slowly, year after year, while telling themselves one dangerous word: later. This is the story of a man who waited his entire life for the right moment. The hospital room was quiet, too quiet. Only the slow rhythmic beeping of the monitor filled the air. James lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. The white paint above him was cracked in one corner, forming a small line that looked like a road disappearing into the distance. He had been staring at it for hours. A nurse had told him to rest. But how could he? When a doctor tells you that your heart may not last the year, sleep becomes difficult. James was 62 years old, and for the first time in his life, he had time to think. Not about work, not about bills, not about responsibilities, but about the one thing he had avoided his entire life: his own choices. Or more precisely, the choices he never made. 40 years earlier, James had been a very different man. He was 22, young, energetic, ambitious, and full of ideas. He used to sit in a small cafe with his best friend Daniel, talking for hours about the future. Daniel wanted to travel the world. James wanted to build something. A business. Not just any business. He dreamed about creating a company that would design innovative tools for small builders and craftsmen, tools that would save time and effort. He used to sketch ideas on napkins. Daniel would laugh and say, "James, one day you're going to be rich." James would smile and answer, "Not rich, free. Freedom." That was the dream. But dreams have an enemy, and its name is later. After graduation, James received a job offer. A stable job, good salary, health insurance, predictable future. His parents were proud. "Take it," his father said. "Starting a business is risky." James hesitated. The job would only be temporary, he told himself. Just a few years. Just enough to save money. Just enough to feel secure. Then he would start his company. Later, years passed. James became good at his job. Very good. Promotions came. More responsibility. More money. But less time. Every now and then, he would find one of his old sketches in a drawer. He would look at it. For a moment, the old excitement returned. The possibility. The vision. But then another voice appeared in his mind. Now isn't the right time. Maybe next year. Maybe when things calm down. Maybe when he saves more money. Maybe when the economy improves. Maybe later. Meanwhile, Daniel took a different path. He left the city. He started traveling. At first it was chaotic. No stable job. No clear plan. Just movement. But every few months he would send James a message. Pictures from different countries. Mountains. Cities. Oceans. People. Life. James always replied with the same sentence. "Looks amazing. One day I'll do the same." Daniel answered once. "Why not now?" James laughed. Because life was complicated. Because responsibilities existed. Because timing mattered. Because there would always be time later. At 35, James met a woman named Laura. She was warm, kind, and she loved his ambition. They got married, bought a house, had a daughter, and for a while life felt full. But the sketches in the drawer remained untouched. Sometimes late at night he would open the drawer again. He would look at the drawings, the tool concepts, the designs, the business plan that existed only in fragments. He would imagine what could happen if he tried. But the voice returned again. "You have a family now. You can't risk everything." Later, years continued to move quietly, like sand through fingers. James became a senior manager, then a director. His salary doubled. His office became bigger. His calendar became full, very full, too full. By 45, he had everything people said should make a man happy. A house, a career, a respected position. Yet something strange had started to grow inside him. A quiet discomfort. Not pain. Not sadness. Something more subtle. A feeling that something important was missing. But he ignored it. Because life was busy, and busy people do not question their lives. They simply continue. One evening, James received a call. Daniel had returned to the city after many years. They met in the same cafe where they used to sit as young men. Daniel looked older. Of course he did. But his eyes were the same. Bright, alive. James noticed something immediately. Daniel did not look tired. Most men their age looked tired. But Daniel looked present. After talking for an hour, Daniel asked the question James had hoped would never come. "So, did you build the company?" James hesitated. He smiled. Anne said the sentence he had repeated for 20 years. "Not yet." Daniel didn't laugh this time. He simply nodded. Anne said quietly, "Be careful with not yet." 5 more years passed. James worked harder than ever. The company expanded. More responsibilities, more meetings, more success. One morning, while drinking coffee at his desk, he read an article about a new startup, a small company creating innovative construction tools, the exact type of business he had dreamed about 25 years earlier. He read the founder's interview. A young man, 28 years old, passionate, determined. James felt something twist inside his chest. Not jealousy, something deeper. Recognition. Someone else had built the life he once imagined. And they did it while he was waiting. Waiting for the perfect time. Waiting for security. Waiting for later. That night he opened the drawer again. The sketches were still there. Yellowed. Old. But the ideas were still clear. He sat quietly for a long time. Then Laura walked into the room. She saw the papers. She asked softly, "What are those?" James answered, "An old dream." She looked at him. Anne said something that stayed with him forever. "Then why is it still in a drawer?" James didn't know how to answer, because the truth was simple and painful. He had waited so long that starting now felt impossible. Life accelerated after 50. His daughter moved away. His parents passed away. Work became routine. The years no longer felt long. They felt short. Very short. 1 year became 3. 3 became 5. Then 10. And suddenly, he was 62. Lying in a hospital bed, staring at a crack in the ceiling. Thinking about a drawer that still existed at home. The doctor entered the room quietly. He explained the situation calmly. James listened. Heart condition. Serious. Treatment possible, but uncertain. After the doctor left, James closed his eyes. And for the first time in decades, he allowed himself to imagine a different life. The life he never lived. The business. The risk. The possibility of failure. The excitement. The freedom. Maybe it would have worked. Maybe it wouldn't. But one thing was suddenly clear. Failure would have hurt far less than this feeling. Regret. That evening, Daniel visited him. They sat in silence for a while. Old friends do not need many words. Finally, James spoke. "I think I understand something now." Daniel waited. James continued. "People think the biggest risk in life is failing." He paused, then shook his head slowly. "No. The biggest risk is waiting." Daniel looked at him carefully, then asked one simple question. "If you could go back, what would you do differently?" James didn't hesitate. "I would start before I felt ready." Outside the hospital window, the sun was setting. The sky turned orange, then slowly darkened. James watched the light fade. He thought about all the sunsets he had missed while sitting in meetings, all the years he believed were still ahead, all the moments he traded for security, and suddenly he understood something that most people realize too late. Life does not move slowly. It only feels that way when you are young. But one day you wake up, and the future you were waiting for has already become the past. Before Daniel left, James said one final thing, something he wished someone had told him 40 years earlier. Do not wait for the right moment. There is no right moment. There is only a moment, and it is always leaving. The hospital room became quiet again, but this time the silence felt different. Not empty, just honest, because James finally understood the truth that many people discover only at the end of their lives. Opportunities rarely disappear. They simply belong to someone else who didn't wait. If you are listening to this right now, remember something simple. One day you will look back at your life, and you will not measure it by comfort, or salary, or safety. You will measure it by one question. Did you live the life you imagined? Or did you wait for later? Later is a dangerous word, because later has a habit of turning into never.